Good morning everyone. In this video I'm going to analyze the live price action for EU and DXY to see what opportunities there may be today. You're going to see my strategy and my analysis, so if you're interested in those then please stick around. So starting off here on the daily chart, what's the daily chart showing us? Yesterday of course was very bearish, as we can see. It's quite possible, given the SMC divergence, right, from this high to this lower high and this low to this lower low, as I mentioned yesterday, that price on EU is going to continue its weakness. For those that didn't see, a lower high where DXY made a lower low shows signs of weakness on EU. So EU may well continue a bearish momentum or trend more down towards this discount here, which I read this as the leg. So we did not mitigate this area down here. Right, so we have an obvious imbalance with order block. Price may head towards that. We also have an imbalance here that we didn't quite fill and was only partially mitigated where that previous weekly low is. So that's how I'm reading price at the moment. DXY obviously swept sell side liquidity, and we have our unmitigated imbalances and order blocks up here, right, where there was some previous SMC divergence. So you can see it formed a range here on DXY, and we might be looking to head higher, I would say, to maybe above these highs. So for the time being, our current day is obviously starting off bullish, so we'll see how that looks on the lower time frames. But just from reading the daily, right, at this moment in time, after mitigating this order block and imbalance here, we haven't gone on to make a higher high just yet, so it may indicate a further pullback down towards this discount area here. We still have our previous daily highs and lows obviously intact for our nearest higher time frame buy side and sell side liquidity. Same on DXY as well. We're yet to sweep those or take any liquidity just yet. So let's go down to the 4 hour. We'll see what that looks like. So I don't think structure is the easiest of reads at the moment, especially when we look at DXY. We can see that this is very range bound around here. Obviously we must have had some news wicks here as well, right? So we swept that sell side liquidity and spiked up, taking some internal buy side liquidity as well here, and price pretty much closed out those candles still within this lower range here between this low and this high. So we're still kind of internal in terms of those candle closures there, and price has become really restricted and tight in this area. So we're probably due some sort of breakout, right? And as I said, we've taken our external sell side liquidity here, so we may head higher. Right, price wasn't making those clear lower lows like it was on EU where we was making higher highs. So we have 4 hour imbalances still available down here, right, below that previous weekly low, which I said price may head towards. So that could be seen as a draw on price. In the near term, where price is being bullish today, we have our POI here, order block, which may become some sort of resistance once we reach this point. We have some inducement here as well, so we have a bit of an imbalance, and 4 hour order block, which we may be drawn towards at the moment. So we'll see if that becomes a resistance, making these lows weak, right? So if this is respected, price may now head towards these weak previous daily lows, previous weekly lows, right, failing to make a higher high if it does do that. The 4 hour structure arguably has been bullish still, right, after mitigating this daily imbalance here, SMC divergence, right, and then we sort of went on to make higher highs above these internal 4 hour highs here during the pullback. So it is possible that we go on to make higher highs, but again, like I said, we have that SMC divergence on the higher time frame. We'll see if that's going to stick. We'll see if this resistance is going to stick, and if we're going to then continue to get lower prices and higher prices on DXY, which is refusing pretty much to make lower prices at this time being. So structure could be clearer, especially on the 4 hour, but it's all about patience, right? We'll wait for our POIs and we'll wait for our lower time frame structure to form from there. So the most immediate one, like I said, being this 4 hour order block here, which I see as possible resistance. So let's go down to the 1 hour, see what that's showing us, see if that agrees. So here on the 1 hour, Price looks to be making some sort of corrective pullback, as we could see on the 4-hour, towards this premium of this internal leg. And I call this an internal leg because you can see we sort of swept above these candle highs here, broke down on news, broke down below these lows here, right? So essentially it is a structural leg there, but I call it internal because we have larger external legs here which price was making structure with. So there's our possible resistance POI, and I think price looks to be drawn towards that. We'll see what price does with that area. Now yesterday we mitigated this 1-hour POI here in balance with an order block behind it. That has caused the pullback so far, so some support there, and we'll see if this turns into resistance. The 1-hour structure is a bit more complicated as well because these are news wicks, right? So it is the high and the low there. So I see that as the external leg because we did sweep that sell side liquidity and we failed to make the higher high is how I'm reading it. So if this is our high and to our low, we took sell side liquidity, had some bullish momentum, failed to break that high, making this low weak where this previous weekly low is, which may be targeted, in my opinion, for sell side liquidity. That would all match up and create that story, right? That if this becomes resistance now and price breaks down from here, right, this low is weak and this low is weak as well. So we can target that to continue some sort of bearish direction. It is always a bit harder to read with those wicks because without those from the news, then we do have that structural higher high there. So it could be seen as bullish, but I'll continue reading it how I am at the moment. Right, this is still a possible resistance point, whether it's going to be short term or long term, right? Whether it's going to break those lows and continue shorter or not. We just wait for lower time frame structure out of there to confirm the direction. Now in the meantime, there's also the possibility of opportunities to trade towards this 4-hour POI. I don't know if I'll be involved in those, but it may happen. We've mitigated this area. We have shown intention to pull back, right? So we may see something on the lower time frame with some 1-hour POIs to continue towards this draw on price. But we'll see what that says on the lower time frame, see what that looks like for possible opportunities. Now, interestingly enough, if we look at our inverse DXY, we've already pulled back to that POI here that pretty much represents this area. So it's already been mitigated. So if EU does continue to pull back to this area here, we may see DXY come back further and actually sweep these lows for some sell side liquidity, right? So that would be some SMC divergence, which may give the momentum and strength for DXY after taking the sell side liquidity to head for higher prices. And if we respect this area here or even sweep the liquidity, the buy side liquidity above it, that may also sponsor the lower prices. So we'll see what happens there. Right, that would still go with my bias and narrative for lower prices. So I'm staying patient for these areas. So let's go down to the M15. We'll draw out some examples of my strategy and see what I'm waiting for. So on the M15, price just looks to be gradually continuing bullish. Right, you can see we didn't sweep the low of Asia for a sell side liquidity sponsor, but obviously we mitigated that 1-hour POI previous day. Price is now just taking the buy side liquidity, it looks like, from this trend line here, heading towards the high time frame POI, which is drawing price. So I don't see much personally. I probably wouldn't be interested in any pullback to this area here, right? Even though this mitigation here has caused a break in structure on the M15, right, to make this internal high, it would look much better if it had swept those Asia lows. Right, because I like liquidity to be on side when sponsoring a move with some internal sweep. I think price will just continue at least until this point here where it takes that buy side liquidity. It may cause some sort of pullback and we'll see where price goes from there. But this for me would be the higher priority. This would be the area I think where the high probability quality trading would come from. So what I'm expecting and what I would be looking for is for price to continue the way it's going. It might make some high lows and high highs on the way up. So like this, now mitigate this 4-hour order block POI area and then break down from there. That would be what I would like. We get a nice strong reaction break of structure from whatever structure we form. The structure may form higher up within this order block, obviously, right? And then we get our nice corrective pullback to our order block, which mitigated this 4-hour high time frame POI, and then momentum broke structure. Okay, so back up until this lower time frame order block to continue trading downwards with. All right, so let's draw that out. We would have our order block here left behind. We would have our break of structure here after mitigating our high time frame POI and taking our internal buy side liquidity here. It'd be nice if it closed as a sweep, of course. So a nice sweeping close at the top here with an order block from taking this internal sell side liquidity, mitigating this 4-hour POI, break of structure, pulling back, and then if we pull back correctively, this will form an inducement, which is buy side liquidity above this internal high to be swept and taken out at this order block, where we would set our order with our stop loss just above that high, right? And we'd be targeting wherever our strategy targets. Mine would be 3% to go down to back towards possible weak lows if we mitigate this area back towards a discount. So as I said, what I think that would look like on DXY is I think DXY would actually come and take its previous daily lows by the time we've reached this area. So we'd have our SMC divergence as well. So hopefully that would then sponsor a move up with that sell side liquidity, and we may respect this area here. Of course, this could also happen higher up in price up here. There's nothing to say that EU won't also come and sweep these highs, sweep its internal structure and break down from there, right? That's also possible, but this is the initial thing I'm looking for us to respect this order block, giving us bearish structure as well. Okay, clear bearish structure. So we'll see what happens here. This is my main priority. And once we're down in these areas and maybe we mitigate something and take enough sell side liquidity, we can look for possible longs, right? But this would be my priority at the moment. So we'll see how these two match up and what happens there. So that's everything. I hope that was clear. I hope you gained value from that. Any questions, let me know in the comments. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon.